Hello everyone, my name is Gayatri. Today I will be presenting about the relationship between personality traits and fear of death. So there are actually 5 broad dimensions of personality traits and their relationship with fear of death will be explored in this study. There are 2 objectives of the study. The first one is to explore the relationship between personality traits and fears of death. And the second objective is to summarize which personality traits are closely related to fear of death based on the articles read. So we will explore the relationship between personality traits and fear of death by analyzing how each dimension has a relationship with fear of death. So the first dimension that we are going to look at is openness to experience. It was found that openness to experience is actually negatively correlated with fear of death. People who score high in openness to experience, they are very open-minded and they easily adapt to changes. So the study by Jelinkova in 2018 suggests that those who are high in openness tend to have lower scores on the death anxiety scale because they are accepting of the changes and they are open to experiencing the afterlife. So that's why it is negatively correlated with fear of death. So the next dimension that we are going to look at is conscientiousness. It was found that high scores in conscientiousness are negatively correlated with fear of death. So people who score high in conscientiousness, usually they like to follow the schedules and they focus more on details. They like to be ready, be prepared. The study by Brad and colleagues in 2016 found that people who are high in conscientiousness tend to be more emotionally stable, which leads them to have less fear towards death compared to those who are low in conscientiousness. They are emotionally stable in the sense that they have higher resilience. So it is negatively correlated with fear of death. The next dimension that we are going to look at is extraversion. So it was discussed that high scores in extraversion are positively correlated with fear of death. People who score high in extraversion are actually called extroverts. They are like the social butterfly. They like to be around others. They gain energy from being around others. And those who score low in extraversion are complete opposite of extroverts. They are called introverts. It was explained that those who spend more time around others are worried about the possibilities of the death of the people that they spend time with and scared of the possibilities of them having to leave their current life to go to the unknown. So they found that this trait is positively correlated with fears of death. The next dimension that we are going to look at is agreeableness. It was discussed that there is a negative correlation between high scores in agreeableness and fear of death. People who score high in agreeableness tend to be more cooperative, they are more caring, and they are empathetic towards others. It was discussed that the relationship between the divine reward and the retribution to helping and caring behavior towards others reduce the fear of death. It would cause them to not fear the consequences they will face after that and hope that they will be placed in a good place like heaven because they had done good deeds to others. Therefore, this trait is negatively correlated with fear of death. And the final dimension that we are going to look at is neuroticism. So high scores in neuroticism is actually positively correlated with fear of death in various studies. Those who have high scores in neuroticism tend to have high levels of stress and anxiety. They are very emotionally unstable as well. They may overthink about death, like the possible pain they may be feeling and the unknown after they die, causing them to fear death compared to those who are low in neuroticism. However, a newer finding by Galton in 2019 actually indicated that people who are high in neuroticism does not fear death. They have slight fear of death in general, but it is not extreme. So more studies need to be done to find a very consistent relationship between neuroticism and fear of death. In conclusion, it can be summarized from the articles that read that those who scored high in neuroticism and extraversion are more fearful of death. Those who scored high in openness to experience, agreeableness, and conscientiousness are less fearful of death. Anyhow, further research should be done to find a significant relationship between personality traits and fear of death because there had been inconsistencies between the findings. I actually learned a lot while doing the paper, and my perspective of how people with different personalities view death changed. I actually thought that those who are high in agreeableness will fear death because they are caring and empathetic, but the findings from the study was explained well and it changes my perspective. However, I'm skeptical about the finding that those who are high in neuroticism will fear death because in my opinion, they are not afraid of it. They always think negatively, and high neuroticism is also associated with suicidal thoughts. So I wonder how they can be fearful of death. Therefore, I believe that further research should be done regarding this to find a significant relationship between neuroticism and fear of death. I hope that the further research and studies about this will actually help people, especially elderly, to live their life well. If people around them understand the relationship between different personality traits and fear of death, and actually take some steps to reduce their fear so that they can live their life well without fearing about death too much. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.